Hiya, I'm Kim Skildum-Reid from Power Sponsorship in Sydney, Australia, and today we're going to be tackling the most searched for topic on my website by far, and that is how to find out who to contact for corporate sponsorship. Now, this is a huge topic because who you approach for sponsorship can be just as important as what is in your offer. In this video, we're going to cover who to target, who not to target, how to get the right people's names and contact details, and how not to screw it up. So without any further ado, here's who you're going to want to avoid. So the first person you want to avoid when looking for sponsorship is the sponsorship manager. Now, I know that seems really counterintuitive. I mean, you want sponsorship, they've got sponsorship in their name. There's not all that many other people that might have sponsorship in their name. So wouldn't you send it to the sponsorship manager? And the answer to that is no, because a huge part of a sponsorship manager's job is to be a gatekeeper, is to actually stop your proposal from getting anywhere near the people that make the decision. Now, that's a key thing, because most of the time, sponsorship managers are not the decision makers, and we'll get to who is the decision makers and who you should be approaching in a moment. But sponsorship managers, they don't have decision-making powers. Now, there's always the exception to the rule, but 99% of the time, these are not somebody that can say yes to you. So what you want to do is avoid the sponsorship manager. Another thing you want to avoid are online submission forms. That's where you have a form online where you're just supposed to say how many people are coming to your event and when's the date and what's the location, and you tick a bunch of boxes for how many logos go places and everything. You need to avoid these like the plague. I mean, you really, really need to avoid these. And I work with a lot of sponsors that prior to meeting me used an online submission form. And I talked them out of it, but not until I'd had the right conversation with them, which was basically, so how many times would you actually review these submissions? And they're sort of going, oh, maybe every 6 months? What do you think? And they're like talking amongst themselves, every 12 months, at least every 12 months. So seriously, my anecdotal evidence is that you put your proposal into one of these things, it's not going to get reviewed for a really long time, and it may not get renewed until after your event or after your season starts or whatever it is that you're selling. So that's one reason not to go near online sponsorship forms. The other big reason is that because they are forms, they don't actually allow you to showcase what you're offering in the best possible light. I mean, it's basically some simple information about your property, some simple information about your benefits, but nowhere in there can you actually allow this to shine and create vision for what the sponsor could achieve and creative ideas and like what this means to people and all the things that actually make a sponsorship proposal work. It's sort of meat grinding your proposal down to least common denominator stuff, which just, it commoditizes it. It's not showcasing what you have to offer at all. So avoid them. The last one, again, this is going to sound a little counterintuitive for some people, is avoid sending proposals to CEOs, managing directors, presidents, whoever is at the top of an organization. Just avoid sending your proposals there. They generally won't get any place. I mean, even if you use your board members to get an introduction to a CEO, that CEO is going to very quickly flick it to the sponsorship manager for assessment. And as I said, the sponsorship manager is not where it should go. But that's where a CEO is likely to flick it. What you want to do is instead go into an organization at exactly the level and to exactly the person that is making decisions about that marketing budget. Which brings me to who you should be seeking out. Now, the number one decision maker in a sponsorship equation is generally the brand manager. For any kind of sizable organization, the brand manager is who you want to target. they're the ones that can say yes to you. I mean, they do need to get a little bit of buy-in internally in order to make sure it's going to be leveraged effectively across the organization. But they're going to be the last word. They'll be the one that's going to do that internal sale. And so that's who you want to target. So until we get into a little bit more detail as we go through this video, just put it in your mind that the number one job description you want to target is the brand manager. Now, if an organization is smaller, if it's a local company that might not have a brand manager, a marketing manager can also be pretty good. So if they have just an overarching marketing manager for everything that they do, and smaller companies sometimes do, that's where you would go in. And then for really localized companies, for really smaller companies, like if you're just really hitting up organizations that are located in your own little regional town, for instance, a general manager is probably where you want to go. Now, this is a tricky one, but it can be really useful. So if you've got a local or regional event or a local or regional team, you could approach the regional marketing manager for a national brand. So the regional marketing manager is going to be able to, well, in theory, they're going to have some budget, and so they might be able to just go ahead and unilaterally sponsor you. But even better, if you can provide them with great ideas for how they can leverage it beyond the geographic footprint, and they can bring that proposal then to the head office and say, look at all the stuff we can do outside of my region. Now, all you need to do, head office, is pay for it. So regional marketing managers can be really, really useful, especially if you include lots of vision-making ideas, lots of creative ideas for what they can do with it, and heavy up those ideas with things that they could do, like for instance in their socials or in their EDMs to their loyal customers that transcends the geography that you're located in. So regional marketing managers, particularly if you can find an angle that's like geographically bigger, they love working with organizations that can offer them that in terms of sponsorship, because there's every chance that their head office will end up paying for it, which is fantastic for everybody concerned. Okay, now this is an important thing, and it sort of goes back to who you shouldn't contact, and that is, if you go into the right person, if you go into a brand manager, if you go into a marketing manager, a regional marketing manager, if you go into the general manager of a small organization, if they then redirect you to a sponsorship manager, or even worse, to an online form, they're not interested in sponsoring you. They just don't want to be the ones to disappoint you. They're going to just flick that over to, the person who's paid to tell you to go away, which is the sponsorship manager, or into the black hole that is an online sponsorship request form. You can follow up and do that, but take that as an enormous long shot, and maybe your efforts are better placed someplace that's going to be more receptive to your ideas. So now we're going to talk about how to get their names and contact details. So the first thing is use your network. You may know somebody that knows somebody, and they can get you into an organization, into a brand team. Maybe not to the brand manager, maybe to the brand manager, but at least into the brand team. Use those contacts to actually open the door for you. So that's one way to get their names and contact details. Another good angle is LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're just on Google, and you Google brand manager and then the brand name, you will inevitably get several hits for LinkedIn. And one or more of those will be brand managers. Some of them may have been former brand managers or just junk answers. But that's a really, really good way to find out who the brand managers are. Reviewing those profiles can help you find accurate names, titles, and then some background information, which can be very useful when you're pitching. But what you don't want to do, though, is do that sort of cold DMs via LinkedIn. It's just not going to work. Like, follow them. Probably don't try to connect with them unless you really have a lot of people in common. But don't just go in and pitch cold. People hate that. I hate that. You probably hate that too. Don't do that. Now, another way that you can get their details, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what you can do with LinkedIn in a moment, but another angle is marketing publications. So wherever it is that you live, there will be at least one or two national or even regional marketing publications. And most of those marketing publications, these would be like Ad News and Ad Age, Campaign Brief, and The Drum, and there are different ones all over the world. What I suggest you do is subscribe to at least the free newsletters from each of the ones serving your geographic area. It might be national, might be regional. So subscribe to the free newsletters and then just put an inbox, like a sub inbox on your email so that they automatically dump into that one folder. Then when you need to find somebody, like let's say you say, okay, I need to find the contact details for the brand manager of business travel at Delta. And so you could put Delta Airlines and then it will search the whole folder. And if there's any recent news about Delta Airlines, it will come up in the search results and it will inevitably have a quote from the brand manager with their proper name and their proper title. So then that's another way that you can find out who they are. It will also give you insights as to what their upcoming plans are, because oftentimes those things will end up in those newsletters and those publications before they're out in the wild and we as consumers can see it. So that's a really, really good trick. Costs you nothing. You don't even have to review these things when they come in. Just use it as a sort of rolling database of contact details, well, at least their name and title, and some background information. Another little thing that you can do is scan their media releases. So they'll probably have like an about section of the website, and often in there, there's a media release area. And just look very quickly at the first few months worth of them. Just the titles are fine. And if there's anything having to do with that brand, again, you'll get background on the brand, you'll get the brand manager's name and details. Now, how do you find their actual email? I have two tricks for you. And I'm going to give you the links to both of these in the video description. So the first one is Voila Norbert. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, voila, as in, like voila, Norbert.com. And Voila Norbert, you put in a person's name, like you can just copy paste it from LinkedIn, and then put in their domain. Put that in. And then Voila Norbert will ping all of the potential, sort of versions of their name with the email address until it gets a hit. And it will either say, oh, we're like 97% sure on this one, or it might be orange where it's like, oh, we're a little iffy on this one, maybe 80%. You could try those 80% ones. I haven't had a lot of luck with them, but the ones that come back and say, we're 97% sure this is the right one, those ones generally work really, really well. Now, it is a subscription service, but it is super cheap. I mean, oh my God, it's so cheap. And you get to try it on 50 lookups for free with a sign up before you part with any money, so you can see if this works for you. So again, that's Voila Norbert. The second tool, you have to have Chrome for this, but so many of us do. So it's a Chrome plugin for LinkedIn called Datanize, that is a hell of a name. It took me forever to actually say that properly. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. So what happens is when you're on LinkedIn and you're on a profile page, it will have something that will stick out from the side of your browser window, and you can click on that and it will give you the email and phone number of that contact if it could find it. And most of the time it can. Now this is going to cost in the neighborhood of about US $30 a month. It's not nearly as cheap as Voila Norbert, but you're going to very quickly, much more quickly, get contact details. Now, what to do with those contact details? I'm going to say, don't call them on their mobile. I don't care if you have their mobile. Don't call them on their mobile. They don't want to get pitched by you on their mobile. I swear to you, that would be a bad idea. Also, don't contact them on their personal email. So if they have a Gmail address there or a Yahoo address there, and that happens, That will be a personal address. Don't use that. Oftentimes they'll have 2 or 3 email addresses, and only one of them is pretty obviously their business address. So use that to contact them. Now, I'm not going to go into what to do next in much detail, but I will be pointing you toward a couple of resources that will help. So the last way you can get their contact details is in directories, but this is my least favorite way to do it. Directories of sponsorship managers and brand managers do exist, but they often get outdated really, really quickly because of the fast turnaround in those roles. I mean, this is just one of those areas, marketing and sponsorship, where there's quite a lot of churn in the roles. So you could pay a lot of money for access to a database and have it be half of them are not there anymore and your emails are bouncing and things like that. The other thing is that industry databases in our industry are often sponsorship managers. And again, that's just pointing you towards somebody that is a gatekeeper and is not going to be helpful for you in your quest to get a great sponsorship across the line. Now, I want you to not screw this up. So you want to avoid sending a generic proposal. Do your homework, make something super, super customized. You want to understand the company's objectives. You want to align your offer accordingly. And you really want to prepare thoroughly to avoid weak or irrelevant pitches. This is really, really super key. So I'm not going to teach you all the how to do that in this particular video, but I can refer you to another video that I have, which is Sponsorship Proposal Basics in about 15 minutes. That's going to tell you how a proposal is put together. Still on you to do it, but that tells you how to put one together, what is in each section, why they go together the way that they do. And there's also another blog that I've done that is all about what you need to do before you send a proposal, like all the legwork, all the research that you need to do before you send a proposal to make sure it has the best possible chance. So again, those things are going to be linked in the video description. So this is all about targeting the right person, finding their information, and approaching them wisely. So I want you to take some action on just one company this week. Go ahead and try to find the right person to contact. Use LinkedIn, use ADDITONAL, use Voila Norbert to find the brand manager and start doing your homework about them before you reach out. If you want a deeper dive, there's a link to a related blog in the video description. There are also lots more resources for you on my website, powersponsorship.com. And you'll find links to that website, additional resources, where you can find me on socials, as well as how to work with me if you're interested in doing that. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you next time.